Hi everyone, Sybille Muschik here at my Shoreline Studio. I want to talk a little bit about the difference between monotypes and monoprints. Now monotypes have a lot to do with mark making, placing things, putting away, adding stuff on top and so forth. And the monoprint, however, has a repeatable element. Now in the classical sense, it was often woodcut or things of that nature, and etching and engraving, but always you can't do that with a gel plate. I mean, you don't want to engrave anything on there, right? So, because then it's ruined. But the definition is a little bit blurred as a result, because stencils are things that can be repeatable. And of course, the leaves that we're working with in these botanicals are repeatable in a sense. So we're blurring the definition a tiny bit, but I think you'll get the point of it all anyway. Let's go to the overhead camera and we'll continue with our botanicals. So this one we're starting from scratch, and I'm going to work maybe with more natural colors for this particular piece. And this is burnt sienna, golden open, of course. It's the usual paints I work with. And we're just going to put a little bit across here, not too much. We're probably going to do some kind of a blend. Some nice cadmium red light. It will tone it up a little bit. Instead of our usual Hansa yellow, let's try some yellow ochre. It's a greenish kind of a yellow, and it has a little bit of titanium white in it, so it's a little more opaque. And of course the lids never go on the way you want them to. Right, we're going to brayer that on. So these are kind of colors that you see on the forest floor when the leaves have kind of dropped down. I'm not going to fuss with them too much. I just, where I see a blob, I roll the roller a little bit so that it'll smooth out a little bit more. And then of course brayer off. Now we place, this is the exciting part where you do the composition and start all your compositional elements. Now we have this very nice willow. And having a main central image like that, and then just all you need to do is to have a few little sidelines, maybe a few falling leaves, nothing too big that you don't want to take any attention away from that. Maybe a few of our grasses and a leaf or two. You can even maybe do just a little hint of something on the bottom here. And somehow you have to find a way to push that down, because otherwise it's not going to print very well. So the trick usually is to use some deli paper, and that will flatten it as much as possible, because if you don't do that, you're going to have halos around the stems, anything that's sticking up a little bit, and that's often not what you want. So just gently, we're not really taking a lot of the paint off, we're just pushing. And I find some of the deli papers actually look pretty fantastic. We might work with that one later. This one we're printing on black, and we will register it a little bit Get some of my leaves out of the way. And I'm just going to center it. And I've kept everything on there. And there's good reason for that, because what happens is that your compositional elements are masking out and keeping those areas black, as you see. This time we will brayer quite a bit. And we'll stick the tape down my Gorilla registration. That's what I call it. Our printmaking teachers always told us, you know, all these formal registration ways, and then I just sort of went my own way. Sometimes you just didn't have time to do things. Or you're experimenting and you want to run a whole bunch of things through quickly. And at some point I'll show you how to do it properly, of course. So then you can just flip her off and you can see and we need to probably pick up a little bit more of the color, so I think we'll just flip it back and just maybe rub where those halos are. And I'm going to pick off our Botanicals. And then we're going to print these on here. Now they should be hopefully really bright compared to the background. Okay, fingers crossed, if that helps. Okay, here we go. Again, really good weight on the Baron, because you want to get all the details. And we want the brightness of those elements to come through. Black paper is sometimes a problem, but if it comes through, it's gorgeous. Not bad. So there we are. We could do another layer, say gold here and there, which I might do. Then it gives it a bit of elegance. And we can just take it off our... Let's see, can we see that? Yeah, turns out not too bad. There's a bit of a shimmer to it, even though I haven't put any iridescence or... And that's probably because the paint's still dry, and that will, you know. So there we are. Well, as luck would have it, I wasn't going to print the ghost print on camera because I really didn't think there was enough paint on there. But, and I'll brayer it a little bit more, because as I started pulling it up, it was looking pretty good. So... And so you see, so it turned out actually quite nice. So this is what I mean about prints always surprising you. No, it's probably not, I'll give it to the other camera, and can you see the, so that turned out not bad, eh? So it's a keeper. So this one, I'm going to, I've put some gold on. It is a golden as well, iridescent gold deep. And burnt sienna, our CAD, which one is this one? The CAD red light. And some, the yellow ochre. So again, we're just gonna, and the gold is gonna be pretty crazy, but we will see what happens. It's always exciting. I never get tired of the process. And there's so many ways you can use these. I was just part of a show called Joy, and I mounted about 4 onto panels. And it really turned out well, so we'll try and put that into the video later on. So here we're going to place our botanicals again. You'll notice I have quite a bit of paint on there now. It might be a little bit much, but as you'll see, we're going to do something really wild. I'm going to, this was fun, I've done this with another print where you're overlapping. And it's quite exciting. So here's my funny saran wrap. You can see it's got some exciting moments to it. And if we're lucky, some of those colors will pull off. And what it does is it forces itself down on the paint, and for those botanicals that are sticking up a little bit and give you trouble and giving you little halos, you can get right next to the stems and other bits and pieces and eliminate the halos as much as you can. At the same time, you know, because it's so scrunched up and interesting, all these little waves and all sorts of little moments here. And I'm even going to push it down even more. Okay, so if we pull this up, see, it doesn't really pull up that much paint, but it gives us wonderful texture. And if you think you haven't got quite enough texture, it's not wrinkled enough for you yet, put it back and do some more. There we go. So it looks very natural. It looks like a forest floor. Oh, here we've got kind of few orange blobs that we need to maybe take care of. That's not attractive. And pulling all this up. And we'll just set this on the side. I'm going to just, I have some texture on the paper towels. If you don't want texture, there are certain paper towels that you have to look for that don't have it. I don't mind. It just adds to the patterning. But I don't want anything that's too blobby. Is that a technical art term? Blobby. Well, it is right now. So we're going to print this. I'm going to print it on white. I think it would just show up so much better. And get all the stuff out of the way. And in this case, I'm going to put the tape down as well. And I think this will still work. Whoops. Almost. Good enough. Okay. That holds it down. Because I want to flip it over and then flip it back. Remember, it will show up just as white when we take the botanicals off. So we have this really fascinating background. Now we carefully remove all these guys. as carefully as you can. There's a point where the botanicals break down, and its process, it sort of, it just sort of, as it deteriorates, it gets more and more interesting. So process is where it's at. So now you don't, because you already have this color in the background, if you get too much in the white areas, then nothing will show up very well. So the trick is to only print a tiny bit. So you put it over carefully and just breeze your hand over so it picks up a tiny bit of the paint. What you want is a little bit of the veining and some of the stems and so forth, but not much. You can just flip it back and forth until you're happy with the result. See, but I probably got too carried away with it. Or didn't take quite enough off. It's very shiny. It's kind of interesting. I would definitely do another layer of a contrasting color next for that. So maybe I just leave that for now. We'll do a ghost print and see how that works. Let's try black paper for the ghost print. You never know what turns out and what doesn't. I was just a little heavy-handed with that one. It's maddening. Okay, we're going to have to really scrub that. We may not get much. You don't always get. It's kind of subtle. No, not bad, but it's subtle. There we go. So the gold's showing up pretty well, but the colors are not so much. Again, it's a good base, but not. So what can we add to that? That would be interesting. Let's try blue. Like a turquoisey blue. And we'll add a bit of yellow and spots, and we already have the gold on there, so it'll be sort of like sunshine peeking through, a little bit of sky peeking through the botanicals, and we'll see what happens. Often, when you're doing this, you're flying by the seat of your pants. You don't know what's going to happen. You try and think about the possibilities, but you can't really totally predict what's going to happen. And that's the joy of printmaking, I think. This type of printmaking, monotypes. We're going to put some botanicals back. I really like these rushes. And some of those oranges will print because the paint's still on there, so that could be quite enticing. Okay, you're gonna flip it back over. Probably some of the botanicals will break. So it's almost like you're stamping, because I've left some of the paint on the leaves and the rushes. So that's going to stamp on here. And then, ooh. And that works. So this will be a two-step process. again, we're going to do a background. And I'll bring in the alizarin crimson again. I left the green on the background with a little bit of the gold. I'm not sure that will pick up as we do this print, but it's all to the good. And I'm going to switch brayers, a nice clean brayer. So we're going to roll this one. And I'm just going to print this as a background because on the next pass we're going to put a green over it, and we'll use the leaves as a knockout or block out, and they should turn out red. That's the cunning plan. So that's our background, and I'm going to clean off my plate in this case. We don't need the red anymore. And then we're just going to mix for green. Sometimes the greens out of the tubes are so intense that they're, you know, they practically bite you. Things like phthalo green are really intense. They always need a little bit of moderation, and you don't use too much, and also you want to change them a little bit by adding a bit of yellow. You can even, if you add the complement, of course, just a tiny bit in here, it will gray them. So it takes down that intensity. So we're adding just a little bit of alizarin crimson, and as it will also make it a comprehensive composition because you're putting an element that's in the first layer in there. It ties your paints together. So just going to and because we really want the leaves to stand out more, I'm going to take quite a bit of the green off. You just want it a little bit in the background. So I'm brayering it off. And then we'll place. Now here's the tricky part. Once you put it down, it's down, so you have to sort of, what does this look like? What does that look like? So I always like, you know, leaves fall in the fall, right? So I kind of like them falling. So you sort of figure out maybe here. And less is more, of course, always. So just shove all this other stuff out of the way. And we print on our nice sheet. And in this case, we're going to print it like a stamp. I could have put the tape down, but that's okay. We can do it either way. Now you just have to be careful lining things up, both top and bottom. Get one corner down, You can sort of wiggle it a little bit. Just don't touch the plate at any point, because what you touch, it prints. Now, according to the plan, if all works well, we're going to have red leaves on a green background. And we do. And there we are. Okay, and we'll hold it up on there. We'll post them at the end of the video so you can see. This is what you can do with botanicals. You don't have to know how to draw. You know, there's so many beautiful leaves and flowers and all sorts of things you can use. Remember that anything that is 2-3-dimensional, you're going to have halos. So using the saran wrap helps to get rid of some of that. And just have fun with it. That's the whole point. It's all about process. And I'm so glad we had this time together today. And we'll see you for the next video. And I think the next one we're going to have guests again. And we're going to be doing faces and figures. So join us again for that. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye for now.